Hello, everybody. Hello, Hisham.
Hi, Luke. Hi,
good to
everybody.
good to have you. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing very well. So, just to let everybody know what we're doing today. By the way, my name is Luke, and I work at Yoda One. Today, we're going to be talking about monetization made easy for Unity developers. Now, the main focus for today will be talking about monetization in mobile games, especially for ads. Isham is an expert in that area, so we'll be asking him questions. I'll sort of be just moderating. I might be able to answer a couple questions, but Hisham is really the expert here today. I want to just give a quick intro on Yoda 1 a little bit, and then we'll get into the questions. So, as I said, we're going to be talking about monetization, and Yoda One is a company that has a long background in monetization. Actually, you might know Yoda One as a publisher. So, back in 2011, Yoda One started publishing games like Crossy Road, Rodeo Stampede, Ski Safari, Transformers Earth Wars, and along the way, built up the expertise to monetize those games really well. So there was a suite of internal tools that got built up, including an AI-driven monetization tool called Maz. So then in 2019, Yoda One changed directions, still publishing, but the main focus now on releasing those tools for the world. So you may have heard of Maz. That's a monetization platform for mobile game developers to make more money with their games, and it's being used by thousands of developers around the world. So that's Yoda One, and we're going to be going over a lot of things today. So I hope you have some good questions to ask. Hisham, do you want to just give a quick intro of yourself? You want to talk a bit about you, give a bit of background in your development experience.
Yeah, sure. I am Hisham Rokini. I am Moroccan. Um, I started my journey in 2018. I started developing mainly 2D games, and now I'm developing 3D games as well using Unity. And I'm monetizing my games using different mediums such as in-app purchases, subscriptions. So this is basically what I'm doing currently.
Very cool. And I mean, you have uh, built what, over 20 games, right?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I built around 20 games in different categories, such as educational games, simulation games, puzzle games, and other games.
Great. Now, so why did you actually choose to make your games in Unity compared with other engines? I mean, there are a lot of engines out there. Why did you choose Unity specifically?
Okay. Mm, as I said, I started my journey in 2018,
Hmm.
and since then I learned a lot of things, like how to develop 2D games and 3D games using Unity, how to monetize my games, getting traffic to these games, how to track the user's behaviors, and how to wisely select the next game I will make. But I think that one of the most important steps I did was to select Unity as a game engine. It's a good engine for indie developers because it has a lot of features, all the features we need for free, of course, until we reach the 100K US dollar earning threshold. We can use it when we are beginners to learn, practice, and make easy games. And we can continue using it when we become an advanced developer as well.
So it sort of
It's
scales
all,
up as you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And also, it's a multi-platform game engine. We can use it to build our games for PC, consoles, mobile devices, and other platforms. Um, Unity has also a rich asset store where we can find many pre-designed assets like environments, characters,
Hmm.
audio, and many tools. So this save valuable time for any developer. And
Go
Unity
ahead. Yeah.
Engine, yeah, has also an amazing graphic support and great visual experience. Uh, yeah, we always compare it to Unreal, by the way, for lighting and shader, but you can do pretty much the same thing with Unity.
Right.
And
But-
on top of that, we have the community. This is the
Right.
one of the best thing we have in Unity. We have a community where you can share your knowledge, ask your questions, and even participate in improving Unity.
So, but if I may ask, before we get to other stuff,
Yeah.
you said Unity you can develop, any sort of game. You could develop PC games. Why did you go with mobile specifically? Why mobile games? Is it just about revenue? Is that where the money is?
Because the market is there.
Yeah.
We know the trend. Um, the entry barrier is low with smartphones compared to PCs or consoles. So everybody use a mobile phone nowadays. So
Yeah.
if I build a game for PC, I will get maybe a low audience. But compared to smartphones, it's a great exposure we have and a lot of potential for our games.
Well, so maybe going off on that, I see a question in the chat from Ricardo. Why did you choose to make your games with Unity? Okay, that's similar. Okay, what I already asked. Okay, well let me ask this one. So you actually have found quite a lot of success with your game, right? I mean, financial success. You've done quite well making mobile games. As you said, you made over 20 of them. So what would be some of the tips, things maybe you've learned the hard way, things that you've picked up along the way, maybe mistakes, tips that you can pass along to those newer devs who want to make or have already made a mobile game but are now thinking about making it a business and making, really generating a lot of revenue?
Well, if I can give two main tips today, it will be first, we need to wisely select the game we are making
Hmm.
because we know that around 99% of mobile games are unprofitable. It's
What
understandable.
what percent?
99%,
99%
according
of
to
games are
yeah,
unprofitable.
according to experts.
That's a
Yeah,
terrifying
exactly.
statistic.
Yeah, because of mistakes developers make,
Yeah.
and it's understandable because mobile game industry is no easy fit. There is there are a lot of ways to screw things up, including the code, of course, the content, third-party integrations, in-and-out crashes, customer support, and plenty more.
Yeah.
But the main reason is the product market fit. We have all been there. We have this amazing idea for a game. We are excited, we are creatively invested, and we start building the game. While this sounds like a dream come true, but the harsh reality is that the project that starts this way has a low chance of success. Why? Because the reason is simple. The market wants what it wants, not what we want. So
Right.
we need to carefully think about this. And this is a basic economic rule, by the way. The first company killer is lack of market. The product market fit means that we are in a good market with a good product. In a bad market,
Right.
we can have the best product in the world and maybe an amazing team, but you are going to fail. So the conclusion is simple. You need to start from an existing specific market where A, the size and revenue are measurable, and B, you can serve that market better than the competition. Then, of course, you can deploy your innovation, patience, skills, whatever, to create a game that will be preferred by a large slice of that market. So this is the first step.
Are you making a case for not following your passion? I mean, is there a way to, you know what I mean? Because some people, the game they build is a passion project. I have this great idea. Then, if they don't find product market fit with that idea, then they might eventually give up and lose passion or have burnout. So, is there a way to keep the excitement alive and achieve product market fit?
Of course, I am not here to discourage people. You can express yourself, but uh, you can do it in many ways. But if you start doing things randomly, you will waste your time. And of course, if it's a hobby, do it. But if you are doing this for a living, you need to make the right steps, the right choices. So I am here to make sure that you are making the right decisions. Start by studying the market. The market research is important. And then, of course, when you start building your game, express yourself with creatives, with the design, with the levels you will create. Be innovative, but start by understanding the market and what the users are expecting from you.
So maybe that leads into the monetization strategy. If you actually achieve product market fit, then the next thing would be to find the strategy that's going to work. So I think we can talk about that. But maybe before we get to that, I see a couple more questions in the chat. So one is about give tips for designing the game. I think we should hold on a second. Let me scroll up. Um, I think we should be graphic designers, Unity modelers, and Unity environment designers as well. Maybe that's about the sort of how well-rounded do your skills need to be, I guess. Do you need to have all the skills in order to be successful as a developer?
We can do everything by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We make this mistake. When we start, we have a limited budget, of course, and we try to do everything by ourselves. But fortunately, you have the asset store in Unity.
Yeah.
We have a lot of designs out there, and they are cheap. You can achieve your goals in a budget if you want. But don't make the mistake that you can do everything. If you are a developer, focus on what you know and try to get help from a designer because he is a specialist and he will provide a better UI. And this is crucial for your game. If you don't have a designer, uh, even if the core of the gameplay is really perfect, but it won't be attractive for your users. So try
Yeah.
to think about this and divide tasks between you and other teams, other members of your team.
I've talked to a lot of developers as well, especially small teams, and what I saw or what I noticed was people tended to work with those who maybe got interested in the game early on, or maybe their friends who had related skills. But everyone's has their own domain. Like I was recently talking to someone who had a friend who was really good at music, so they brought him on the team to collaborate. It's sort of like basically that's what you do in a startup company. So you don't treat it as a game, you treat it as a small business. You treat it as a startup company. One person is responsible for music, one person is responsible for design, and the other is responsible for code. And that works pretty well to get a couple of collaborators together to work on it and share that passion for the project.
That's true.
Um, well, maybe going on the product market fit question on monetization strategy. Maybe just broadly, could you talk a bit about monetization strategy? Because I think that's also something that a lot of, especially newer developers, aren't really thinking about.
Yeah, it's the second tip I wanted to give, by the way.
Sure, yeah.
It's about how we can efficiently monetize our games. Here, I need to mention quickly that there are different ways to monetize a game. We have ads, we have in-app purchases, subscriptions, monetize surveys, and other mediums. But the ads remain the easiest way to start. But here, we need to wisely inject the ads in the gameplay. In fact, the ads should be a part of the gameplay itself. And we need to think about the injection points while we are designing the core of our game, not at the end. Um, yes,
Think about it
we
from the
can have,
beginning. Yeah.
yeah, of course, of course. Of course, we have some common practices like showing an interstitial ad after completing a level, or inviting the player to revive by showing a rewarded video. Of course, we can do this at the end, but we can get more sophisticated techniques if we are thinking about ads as a component of the gameplay, not something we plug in at the end. So this is important. One more thing. When we create a game for the first time, we think that the more ads we have, the higher revenue we get. But it's nonsense. We also don't care about the
Yeah.
user experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
instead of creating a game, we deliver a minefield of ads. And
I
by the
like the
end,
term minefield.
of course,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
the case. I made this mistake when I started, and I got like 100% churn. So the conclusion here is to think about the ad placement, as they will provide a better user experience,
Yeah.
make the ads less intrusive, and by the end of the day, you will incredibly increase your revenue.
And that's a, I mean, an interesting point you bring up. Something that really Yoda One has figured out at a pretty high level. I mentioned the games that we've published over the years with many tens of millions of players. You figure out what works and what doesn't, right? So where ads go, which types to use, and how do you find the perfect balance between overwhelming the players and not overwhelming the players and yet actually earning revenue. So we're going to be doing an offer later on related to that ad design recommendations. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. We're going to be doing a special offer. But I want to get to a couple of the questions in the chat. There's one. This one more. How do I make my game stand out? Says Kama. How do I make my game stand out? So maybe get noticed in general.
We have good questions today, Luke.
Yeah.
Uh, well, besides the market research we should do before building our game, where we get a clear idea about the product market fit, analyze the competition, and understand what the users expect, I can think about two other mediums. The first one is to improve the ASO, the App Store optimization,
Mm-hmm.
because we know that the app stores are crowded. We have nearly 5 million apps in the global market fighting for the same customers. So let's be honest, we can't expect luck to help us or to help our app to get discovered. So ESO is a crucial piece of any app's marketing campaign. It's a continuous process that improves the app's ranking, discoverability, conversion rates, and this involves implementing various optimization techniques, such as using descriptive titles, providing adequate descriptions and accurate category placing, but also effective keywords,
Yeah.
posting quality icon, video, and screenshots, and getting more reviews and much more.
But how do
So
you know
ASO
what
should
quality
be
icon
your main
means?
focus.
Because a lot of the big studios, they have millions of dollars, or at least many thousands of dollars, to invest in experimentation with icons. So if someone doesn't have that kind of budget, how do you find the right icon? Because icon is very important. How do you find the right one if you don't have the budget for constant A/B testing, for example?
You can think that your icon is perfect yourself, but it's not seen the same way from your users.
Hmm.
So you will always need to do A/B testing. You can create an amazing icon, you'll like it, but when you put it, you publish it in the App Store or Play Store, nobody will download your game or care about it. So I can't give a direct clue. The best thing you can do is to use simple icons, train the icons, and do a lot of A/B testing. So this
Yep.
is important to make sure that your icon will be a hit.
Simple is usually good, right?
Yeah.
Um, uh, Yara asks, "Hey Luke, this is a question for me. I'm not sure if I'm the one to ask, but okay, whatever." Yara asks, "Hey Luke, can we encourage game developers whose first language is not English to feel competent and confident in the market?" Well, actually, that's not a question for me. That's maybe that's a better question for you. So, um, if you want to, that might be related to ASO, right? That's the game description, the keywords, and all of that stuff. I mean, how important is good English? And if your English is not great, what can you do in that case? Any ideas?
I yeah, I can tell you that it's not only about English. We need to localize our games in other languages like Spanish, like Chinese,
Right.
like Italian, and we don't need to speak these languages. There are services that offer this translation language services, and you need to do the minimum thing. You need to have like 2 or 3 lines, and then make them better in your next updates. But you don't need to be an English master or a
Yeah.
Chinese master. You just need to be simple, describe your product wisely, concisely, and of course, have the description in your screenshots. This is important because a lot of users don't read the descriptions you have in your page. But if you just provide simple screenshots, they will scroll down and skip your game. Try to have some kind of features in your screenshots, and let these screenshots talk and describe your app. It's more important than having a descriptions, because people read these screenshots and don't read the descriptions very often.
The description is more like discoverability in the search, right? But not so much what people are actually reading. Yeah.
Exactly,
It's kind of
exactly.
ironic. So I would second that, in that if you try to use Google Translate, it doesn't sound realistic. So that would be a case where it's probably worth the investment of spending a little money on a translation service. You pay them to do it. They're native users of that language. It's not an insane expense to do in, maybe the top 10 languages. You can it's probably worth it in the long run, right? But it's better to do that than have probably poor looking translations using Google Translate, right? Um,
Yeah.
well, we have a question here. I think this is more getting back to monetization. So I appreciate all your
Mhm.
thoughts on ASO. I think that's an important topic. Um, Say says, you talked about monetization. My game is not making a lot of money, even though I have players. How can I fix that?
Wow.
Okay.
I assume here that the developer is using ads, because
Yeah, let's
it's
assume it.
what we use most. Yeah. And the first thing he should do, of course, is to check out the ads injection points, the ad placements, as I already mentioned,
Hmm.
and also use analytic tools to understand the user's behaviors. But one other improvement is to switch from using a single ad network to a mediator. Let's Let me explain
Yep.
this in more details, please.
Please, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, let's
Yeah,
set the foundation a little bit.
of course. We have two different ways to implement ads in our games. We can rely on a single ad network or use a mediator. The single ad network is the quickest path to follow, of course. You just need to select one of the solutions available in the market, create your app, your ad units, use the provided SDK, of course, add some code lines, and you are ready to go. And since we are talking in the Unity group, it's much easier if we use Unity in a Unity game, Unity as in a Unity game, of course. But in terms of revenue, sorry, you are leaving money on the table.
Hmm.
The second approach
Wait.
is,
Could you
yeah,
clarify why that is? Why is money being left on the table for the single ad network?
uh, okay.
Simply, is there a
Let-
simple explanation?
of course. Let's think about the basic economic rule. The more demand there is for something, the higher price someone will pay. And if you have a single ad network, this ad network will serve its own ads and without any competition with
Hmm.
other ad networks or ad mediations. So at the end of the day, we'll get a low CPM and a low fill rate.
Hmm.
So that's the problem.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. The second approach is to use a mediator. This solution provides higher CPM and fill rates, but it can be hard to set up if we do things manually. So, uh, personally, I use Mass because it offers the mediation advantages, uh, which means a higher fill rate and a higher CPM, which leads, of course, to higher revenue. And we don't need to set up the waterfall manually.
Right.
And for those who don't know what a waterfall means, it's a set of ad sources that are placed in the mediation chain according to the CPM value. So Mass is doing this under the hood using its AI algorithm.
So the advantage. Let me just sort of make sure I got it. So the advantage of using the mediation is you have competition among ad networks, but so it's switching. It's using different ones, allowing for competition, but is highly manual. Requires a lot of tweaking and constant adjustment, and is therefore pretty time intensive. And Maz does all of that stuff using AI. And so you have the advantages of mediation, but it's sitting on top of that, doing it automatically, right?
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. And because I am a Unity developer, I need to know if Mass has an SDK for Unity. It's the case. It's simple to implement. Uh, and as you said, the SDK combines many major ad networks and also major mediators. And unlike the mediators, I discovered that Mass doesn't have its own ad network.
Mm-hmm.
So the results we get are completely unbiased.
Yeah.
Um, and on top of that, we have a great customer support.
One of the other things I also hear, because in um, by day I uh, do this or talk to you or stuff like that. By night, I interview developers. Well, that's not quite accurate. But I mean, in a lot of my discussions, I have heard the same sort of recurring points. Number one, ease of use, the fact that it removes a lot of the headache of trying to wrestle with a mediator, and also the support part of it. That it's very easy to get in touch with someone from Yoda One, and I mean, I think it's also important to mention that Yoda One has some huge games out there and built up an expertise in monetization. So essentially, what you have is a world class monetization team, and the expertise of that team constantly improving the AI of Maz to better improve the performance of the ads in your game, switching between them with AI, but trained by this world-class monetization team. So, I mean, that's something I think just worth noting and worth mentioning. Something that I hear from a lot of the developers I speak with. What about the integration part? Just speaking specifically of Maz, one of the major pain points I think for any solution, sometimes they're more or less technical to implement. So how's the integration process? By the way, Say
Well,
says thanks
yeah,
for explaining mediation. So
my pleasure. When I integrated Mass for the first time, I got a lot of questions, of course, because it's different from Unity ads, and I was using Unity ads. It's a service provided in Unity,
mm,
and we can integrate it easily. So I had some questions, and when I tried to read the documentation, I found answers to all my questions. And it's very easy to integrate it on Unity games. We just need to import the SDK, uh, try to add some code lines, build the game, test it on our device, and if we have any sort of problems, any kind of problems, there is a human team behind, because sometimes when we use a platform and we ask questions, we don't get answers. No, here I needed some help, and the team was available. They helped me on a remote session, live remote session on any desk, to fix some issues, and within like some few hours, like 2 or 3 hours, I had my first game ready to be published. So it's a great experience I had with Mass, and congratulations to the team behind.
and that's for the first game. Does it get faster with, for example, the second and third game because you
Of
have all
course.
the files already downloaded and it's faster, right?
Yes, yes. Yes, of course, it's a question of copy paste.
Yeah.
I am using the same script in the other games as well, so it's a question of minutes, not hours or days.
I was actually curious about, because I don't have a background in game developing. Sorry, so I wanted to actually see it sort of in person. So I watched a live session that did the whole thing in I think it was 12 minutes. So it went from, it was someone who had put the game in before, but it was 12 minutes from beginning to the end of the process. Um, well, Hisham, we might have a couple more questions coming, but thank you so much for providing your expertise, lending your time. I think it's been very insightful, and I really appreciate that. Is there anything else that you want to impart to newer developers who are really starting to think about the business aspect of launching their games?
Uh, let's try to put things simply. We need to have a professional attitude. We need to understand how things are done. We don't need to make the same mistakes other people made before us. We need to be careful about this. If we are thinking about a better monetization solution, for example, we need to search out there and listen to advices, test many solutions, of course, compare them, and at the end of the day, experience is much better than.
Hey, I think I lost Hisham there for a second. What happened? Well, Hisham, can you hear me? Okay. Let's assume that Hisham said something very wise and profound, as he usually does. And I would like to thank Hisham for coming on. Hopefully his internet recovers soon. Well, guys, I appreciate everyone for joining. It's been great having all of the questions. I know we might not have actually got to all of them. So what I'd like to do is invite you to scan the QR code, and also there should be a link available in the chat. It's a WhatsApp group that you're welcome to join. You can ask questions about Maz. You can ask questions about monetization, and the team that Hisham referred to. They're essentially standing by, ready to answer any questions that you might have. So feel free to scan this. We also, as an exclusive offer, I mentioned this earlier on, as an exclusive offer, if you register for Maz with your game by next Friday, we are able to offer a free ad design recommendation report. That is, as I talked about earlier, where do you put banner ads? Where do you put interstitials? Right? What is the optimal placement for these and the optimal frequency? Does it make sense to use a banner ad? Does it make sense to use a rewarded video ad? And where might you do those to better optimize your ad performance? That is on top of course, using Maz, which is a world-class solution platform for better monetizing your game with ads. And that's, as we talked about, an AI-driven ad optimization platform. So sign up for Maz. If you have questions, let us know in the chat. Again, scan the QR code here or click on the link. We'll be more than happy to answer those. The team is always great to work with. Thank you so much for joining, for watching, for the questions, and best of luck with your games. Hope you all have huge success with whatever you decide to do. Thanks a lot. Much appreciated.